Hello, this is Amber. I'm here to talk about Kubeflow pipeline working group and our roadmap for the next year. Just joking. This is James Liu. So let's go back to the topic about Kubeflow pipelines. Would you like to go to the next slide, please? Yes, this year we are very happy to announce that we have GA KFP v2 in June. So if you are deploying Q4 pipeline standalone, you are already able to use that Q4 pipeline v2 GA version. And then we are participating the v2 GA version in the Qflow 1.8 release. So that's coming up very soon. So looking forward to that, and we are hoping to see more feedback from the community to help us improve the user experience and also identifying any missing pieces that we should work on. With that, can we go to the next slide, please? Awesome. So a little bit of the kind of like the looking back about what we deliver in the KFP v2. The next slide will have the new features. So first of all, we provide first-class support for ML metadata. Previously, we write data as kind of like the post action after each step to the ML metadata server. Right now, we are using ML metadata store as the runtime information storage for the pipeline run, and pipeline job. So with that, we are able to provide more information. For example, the artifact. We can provide the lineage graph support with MLMD as well. And then we also provide the Argo independent pipeline representation. So we call it IR, so intermediate representation. So this is an orchestration engine agnostic pipeline template that allow you to define a pipeline, and then it can be translated to different kind of orchestration engine CR, for example, Tecton or Argo. That makes your pipeline definition more portable, and then it's also easier to look at the logic itself instead of trying to understand what is the kind of like the definition of certain orchestration engine. The next one is the modern UI based on MMD and pipeline spec. So in the KFP v1, we highlight the pipeline task. So each component has its own corresponding task, and we draw a graph, we call it DAG, to present the ordering of those pipeline steps. But in the KFP v2, we want to highlight the concept of artifact. So in our DAG revamp, you are able to not only just see the pipeline task, but also the upstream and downstream artifact of this pipeline step. So you can understand what is the input, what is the output, and then you can deep dive into the detail. For example, looking at the matrix, looking at the one-time information about this artifact. So the next one is the unify and refresh component and pipeline offering experience. So with this KFP v2 user experience, we are providing lightweight Python component, container component, custom component, and also pipeline as a component style offering. So with these four user journeys, and we are providing a unified offering experience. So if you want to achieve something, you are recommended with a standard instead of finding workaround in the previous version. If you want to learn more, there's a slide link over here that will redirect you to the last year's Kubeflow Summit slides. Then we talk about the detail about them. But also you can check out the Kubeflow documentation to learn more about how to use them. So one thing to know is that with the KFP v2 GA, you are still able to use KFP v1. That means if you have a large chunk of pipeline template that you have already created in KFP v1, don't worry and just upgrade them to the newer version of the Kubeflow and also newer version of the KFP runtime. If you want to continue using KFP V1 SDK, you can use the V1 SDK for now. And then we recommend using KFP V2 going forward for your new pipeline. So you are gradually migrating to KFP V2, but you don't need to change them all at one time. So we are trying to provide smooth transitioning process for the user. So with that, can we move on to the next slide? So since KFP v2 has been created, we are going to look forward and look at what is our next step. So currently our roadmap for KFP is to provide KFP v2 feature parity with v1. We have already accomplished the critical user journey in KFP v2, but there are some functionality that is unique in v1 that we want to provide feature parity or find an alternative for them in KFP v2. So that is something that post-GA we want to achieve. And after that, we also look at the GitHub issue, and based on the high-ranking ordering, we identify a few important issues that receive a lot of attention from the communities. So one of them is to integrate with PostgreSQL database. So currently KFP is integrated with MySQL database, but PostgreSQL is also very popular. I'm going to talk about that mainly in this section. The next one is to identify alternative for MinIO. We know that MinIO has changed its license before, and then we are trying to find a solution for open source default recommendation for the object storage, so we can move forward and also fixing Siri issue, and also unblocking the next item, which is the multi-user isolation at the artifact and MLND levels. So as the security presentation earlier, we talked about the artifact and MLMD. They are not being namespace isolated. So that is the problem that we want to solve. But in order to solve them, we want to find a good alternative for MinIO. So after we replace the MinIO with something else, then we can better design a solution for multi-user isolation. So with that, I really appreciate community's contribution and also the enthusiasm to solving this problem. So this is the roadmap. Let's move on to the next slide. So this is what I'm trying to talk about today, is the PostgreSQL integration. So we have already started with the PostgreSQL integration, and would you like to move on to the next one as well? Thank you. Yeah. So the Postgres support has been created last year, and then we received 42 upvotes, and this is currently the top voted GitHub issue on the KFP repo, and this is what we are trying to tackle. And we look at our kind of like the current solution MySQL, and also comparing it with the PostgreSQL. So with that, can we move on to the next slide? Yes, so we look at the PostgreSQL and MySQL GitHub star, and we see that both of them have healthy growth, and they are also very popular in the open source community. So with that, we think this is valuable to provide the PostgreSQL alternative for people to choose what kind of database they can use in the Kubeflow solution. With that, can we move on to the next slide? So on the left-hand side, we have the yellow box. This is the KFP servers. One is the KFP API server. Another one is the cache server. both of them depends on database and their schema, and currently is MySQL. And on the right-hand side, on the green box, this is a metadata server. And metadata server also has a list of database options. For example, SQLite and MySQL. In our case, we choose to use MySQL for the metadata server database. So this is what we are trying to do to replace or provide an alternative for the database for the web icons in the bottom. So if we can move on to the next one. Thank you. Yes. So in here on the database layer, we will provide integration with PostgreSQL and also a manifest for people to choose whether they want to use MySQL or PostgreSQL. So with that, can we move on to the next one? Yes. So we break down the step based on our current architecture. One is to integrate MMD with PostgreSQL first. And this is actually a collaboration I have this year with the open source metadata team. We are able to successfully deliver MLMD version that has PostgreSQL support. So I personally contribute to this project, and with the recent MLMD upgrade, people can already use PostgreSQL with their MLMD server. The next step is the second and third, which is KFP API server and the cache server to use PostgreSQL. This part is currently in progress, but we also would like to welcome community contribution for the PostgreSQL support here, because this is a good opportunity for anybody who are familiar with KFP, but not sure like how where they can make impact and where they can contribute to the project. And this is a very good example because we already have the database schema defined in MySQL. So PostgreSQL is just a little bit of the schema difference between MySQL, and we just need to provide a flag on the runtime saying that okay, if you choose PostgreSQL, you can provide a flag to say you choose PostgreSQL, and then what is the connection configuration for PostgreSQL. And using that and the existing architecture in KFP, it actually not very difficult for integrating the KFP server with PostgreSQL. And the last one is to provide a manifest for KFP standalone and full Kubeflow to be able to use PostgreSQL database. So after that, there's a tracking issue over here that you can use to track the progress. Even if you don't want to contribute, you can still use this issue to track the current progress of this project. And hopefully we will be able to work together and launch this integration in the future. Very large base of the PostgreSQL user will benefit from Kubeflow and Kubeflow pipelines. So with that, I think this is the last slides I have. Thank you, everybody. I would like to provide some time for people to ask questions, but I know that our time is very limited. So I will keep the question to the end of this session and hand the presentation over to Kimonas, I believe. Thank you, everybody, again. Great to be here.